Let's take you to London now, where a rebellion in the British Labour Party threatens to derail the UK's departure from the European Union. Joining me to make sense of this Brexit quagmire is our British correspondent, Natalie Powell. Natalie, good afternoon. So it seems some Labour MPs want another referendum against the official party line. Why is that happening?
That's right. What they want is a referendum for the EU withdrawal bill. And what this all really goes back to is the original referendum, which was simply one question: do you want to remain in or leave the European Union? There was no further information on what that Brexit would look like or what the plans were, whether the UK was planning on leaving the single market, for example, which allows the free movement of goods and people. Now, what's happened since that original referendum vote, of course, is we have a lot more information. We know the government's negotiating stance. We know where it plans to take the country. And what some MPs are arguing is that a lot of their constituents didn't vote for that type of Brexit because the original question put to them in the original referendum was simply a one question with no further details. Interestingly, about this group of MPs that have come forward stating that they want to have a referendum on the final terms and conditions of the EU withdrawal bill is where they're from, which is the northeast of England, and that really is the Brexit heartland. A lot of that area voted for leave during the initial referendum vote, of course. But what has since happened is there's been a lot more information, a lot more analysis done, and according to some of these statistics, about 60% of trade from the northeast of England is to the European Union, and that people here in the UK would be worse off as a result of Brexit taking place. In fact, a leaked document by the government's own department for exiting the European Union stated that the UK would be worse off in every possible way following Brexit. So as you can see, a lot more analysis has come out since then, meaning that people do want to vote on what the government has negotiated for them in terms of Brexit, so that they get a vote on what those terms and conditions will be.
So it's perhaps a question of the penny finally dropping as to the consequences of a Brexit situation of the UK leaving the EU. But you know, it's not only Jeremy Corbyn facing these difficulties of some people rebelling from within the party. The Tories are not having it easy either. What are the consequences? What are the possible consequences of these divided parties leading the UK on this very divisive issue at this particular time?
Well, you're absolutely right there. We have seen divisions within the Tory party and within the Labour Party, the opposition party as well. And I think really this goes to show the state of the country when it comes to Brexit. We must cast our minds back and remember that 52% of the country voted to leave the European Union, 48% of the country voted to remain in the European Union. So it's almost straight down the middle, that dividing line. And both Labour and the Tories, the incumbent Tory party, need to ensure that their policies reflect both of those visions within itself. So what we're seeing is divisions within the UK public, but also within their party lines as well. What this means going forward, of course, is that it's going to be very difficult for either party to really advance beyond the other, and we've seen that in the recent local elections here in the UK. The Labour Party failing to make strong gains over the incumbent Conservative Party, and we know, of course, that the incumbent Conservative Party has a small majority. In fact, it's actually in agreement with Northern Ireland's DUP party to try and shore up its government. So what it's likely to mean is that neither one party can advance against the other as a result of them both really having very similar stances when it comes to Brexit. Both of them want to leave the European Union, and both of them want to leave the single market, which is a big sticking point among many of not just their MPs, but also the general public here in the UK too.
UK politics, always fascinating, and things can change just like that in a short period of time. That's our UK correspondent, Natalie Powell, with that update.